स्टार्ट जैसे स्टार्ट होता है वो करेंगे बस अब दोबारा अभी दोबारा बात नहीं जब शुरू हो रेडी है नहीं आप रेडी एक सेकंड एक मिनट ये स्टार्ट हो गया स्टार्ट
No, it's brand new. Ready when you are.
Yes, ready.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على عبده ورسوله ومصطفاه نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه أما بعد والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And we continue inshallah to our second segment and the final one inshallah, chapter 27.
Chapter 27. Weighing or measuring goods is to be done by the seller or the giver. Hadith 1014. Narrated by Jabir radiallahu anhu, Abdullah bin Amr bin Haram died and was in debt to others. I asked the Prophet ﷺ to intercede with his creditors for some reduction in the debts. The Prophet ﷺ requested them to reduce the debts, but they refused. The Prophet ﷺ said to me, "Go and put your dates in heaps according to their different kinds. The ajwa on one side and the cluster of zayd on another side, etc. Then call me." I did that and called the Prophet ﷺ. He came and sat at the head or in the middle of the heaps and ordered me, "Measure the dates for the people, the creditors." And I measured for them till I paid all the debts. My dates remained as if nothing had been taken from them.
Now this hadith has many benefits, but we don't have time to talk about the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ. The hadith is clear, but why did the Bukhari bring it? Because this is a ruling in fiqh that the seller is the one who does the weighing, not the buyer. Because they were collecting their debt. If they were to do the weighing, they would have put it more. So this is what happens. The seller does the weighing, the buyer does the paying. Because he's the one who's paying, so he has to give it. And this is a well-known fact in the schools of thought, that the one who does the weighing is the one who is selling. Okay?
Chapter 28. What is considered preferable regarding measuring?
Preferable. So is measuring preferable or mandatory? It's an issue of dispute. The most authentic opinion is that it is preferable when possible. But when there is an agreement, for example, if I have a pile of dates, Sheikh, how much does this weigh? I don't know. But I'm selling it for 2 dinar. You look at it, looks good, and you accept. Is this halal? Yes. And we will come to mention this. Unweighed things is halal to buy. There is an amount of ambiguity in it, but it's negligible because the pile is a pile. So it doesn't matter to me because I'm happy with it as it is. But it is recommended. Why it is recommended? Usually, shaitan is there. So if I take this pile and weigh it after the transaction is over, oh, I thought it was 5 kilos. It's only 3. I will feel a little bit, not cheated, because you didn't say it's 3 or 5. You say take it as it is. But I would feel a little bit bad. So in order to have no feelings of enmity or resentment or hatred between the Muslims, it is recommended. And this recommendation means reward at the side of Allah. The hadith.
Chapter 28. What is considered preferable regarding measuring? Narrated by Al-Miqdam bin Ma'di Karib, radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ said, measure your foodstuff and you will be blessed.
So you will be blessed. This is a form of a fact in addition to dua. So the Prophet is telling us, okay, if you don't measure, it's okay. But if you do, it will be more in your barakah. And we know that the barakah is made dua by the Prophet ﷺ in Mecca, in Medina, and in Yemen. And in the Sham as well. All of these places the Prophet made dua for. Okay.
Chapter 29, Allah's blessings in the in the sa' and the mud of the Prophet ﷺ. Hadith 1016. Narrated Abdullah bin Zayd radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ said, the Prophet Abraham made Mecca a sanctuary and asked for Allah's blessing in it. I made Medina a sanctuary, and as Abraham made Mecca a sanctuary, and I asked for Allah's blessing in it, in its measures, the mud and the sa', as Abraham did for Mecca.
Now, what does sanctuary mean in Arabic? Haram. What does haram mean? No, haram. What does it entail? When we say that this is haram, there are things that are prohibited. So what is prohibited in Mecca? Fighting, killing, what do they call it? Cutting the trees, hunting wild animals in this haram area is prohibited, in addition to the non-Muslims entering. So when we see Medina, and the Prophet said, and I had made Medina to be a sanctuary, haram, like Mecca. Can we hunt in it? Scholars say no, you cannot hunt. Can we cut the trees? Yes, we have farms, we have all of these things. It's not like Mecca. Can non-Muslims enter it?
No.
Yes. Legally, according to the laws, it used to be for 40, 50 years, non-Muslims would not enter it. Nowadays it's open. And at the time of the Prophet it was open. There were Jews, there were Christians, there were idol worshippers who were not only entering it, but also imprisoned in the masjid. So all of this indicates that what the Prophet made it as a sanctuary is not to hunt in it, as some of the scholars say, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best.
Chapter 30. What is said about the selling of...
As a barakah, those who lived in Mecca or Medina know that. I live in Jeddah, where there is no barakah. 1 hour drive is Mecca, 4 hours drive is Medina. I had my sister she lived in Medina for so many years. My daughter was married and lived in Medina, and they tell you about things that make you shocked, where 20% of your income or 30% of your income in Jeddah would suffice you to live honorably in Medina. Things are so strange. You buy a little food and this is sufficient for 1 whole month with the barakah of the dua of the Prophet ﷺ. And everyone who lives in Mecca and Medina knows this. So this is something that is tangible, you can feel it. And those who go to Medina feel the tranquility. Why is there tranquility in Medina more than Mecca? Some people say that this is not facts, but it has some reason behind it. Because Allah wanted to compensate the reward that is less in Medina than Mecca. Now, for me, when I go, I usually go to Mecca. Why? Because I always look for the return of investment. I pay 500 riyals for a room in Mecca per night. In return, I get 500,000 prayers. If I pray the 5 prayers, each prayer is 100,000. While if I pay the same amount in Medina, I get only 5,000. So 5 compared to 500,000, yani financially, no. Mecca is more feasible. But when you go to Medina and you feel the tranquility, you'll never feel it in Mecca. The people of Mecca are so aggressive and you just want to take your money, even the taxis, even and they're vulgar in language usually. But people in Medina, Allah, easygoing people, most of them they're migrants, they just came there to die. And Allah blesses them and live there for 30, 40 years and they die and they're buried there. So there is a lot of tranquility in it. May Allah grant me and you to live there and to die there. Yes, sir.
Chapter 30. What is said about the selling of the foodstuff and storage? Hadith 1017.
Storage means hoarding. And that would be the better translation. Not storing the food is okay. Hoarding it is a problem, and it's not mentioned here, but the Bukhari mentioned it just to hint for the ruling. Yes.
Narrated by Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, I saw those who used to buy foodstuff without measuring or weighing in the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ being punished if they sold it before carrying it to their own houses.
So the punishment, the being beaten, is it for buying it without weighing, or is it for selling it before possessing it? It's for selling it. We've established this earlier. The second hadith.
Hadith 1018, narrated by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, the Prophet ﷺ forbade the selling of foodstuff before its measuring and transferring into one's possession. I asked Ibn Abbas, how is that? Ibn Abbas replied, it will be just like selling money for money, as the foodstuff has not been handed over to the first purchaser who is the present seller.
We've explained this, huh? If I buy this from you and you still possess it and I sell it to someone else, as if it's paying 100 and getting 120, money for money. Ibn Abbas explains, may Allah be pleased with you, there is no risk on me in not taking this. I did not possess it yet. And this goes in line with the hadith of the Prophet.
Hadith 1019. Narrated by Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the bartering of gold for gold is riba, usury, except if it is from hand to hand and equal in amount. And wheat grain for wheat grain is riba, usury, except if it is from hand to hand and equal in amount. And dates for dates is riba, usury, except if it is from hand to hand and equal in amount. And barley for barley is riba, usury, except if it is from hand to hand and equal in amount.
This is obvious. Why did the Bukhari bring it here? Because there is hand to hand, meaning there is possession. And the hadith, of course, about riba, we've mentioned this before. Yes, sir.
Chapter 31. A seller should not urge somebody, in case of optional sale, to cancel a bargain the latter has already agreed upon with another seller, so as to sell him his own goods. Hadith 1020, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade the selling of things by a town dweller on behalf of a desert dweller. And similarly,
we've been through this, huh? A nomad. You don't act as a representative for a nomad.
And similarly,
and this, by the way, I don't know about Haraj here. In Jeddah, the Haraj is surrounded by people outside of it. So the moment you drive in, they stop you in the middle of the road. They prevent you from going inside to sell your car. How much you want? No, I just want to see the price. No, I'll give you now, immediately. How much? Remember, the first offer is the best offer. It's the golden check. And usually they're right. Because if you refuse and go inside, nobody gives you this price. But what they're doing is wrong. Because they want to, sometimes they fool you, of course, depending on the person and the quality of the car. So we've been through this, huh?
And similarly,
Najash. And najash, the Prophet says, وَلَا تَنَاجَشُوا. What is that meant by najash? Najash in Arabic is to have the birds in one place and boom, and they all fly. So najash is a form of deceit. When the brother has a car to sell, and I'm interested in supporting him to sell it. So I collaborate with 3 people and say, listen, the price of the car is $10,000. Let's bid and make it 15. So they say 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. The brother said 10,500. They say 11,000. And the guy says 11,600, 700. The brother, he says, well, if these 3 are bidding on it, it must be a good car. 12,000. They say 12,200. And they do this in order to raise the price, and he will be fooled to benefit him. Or the opposite. They try to not have the vehicle sold by putting it down through one way or another. This is a form of deceit which is haram, okay?
And one should not urge somebody to return the goods to the seller so as to sell him his own goods.
This is filling the heart with hatred. I sold the brother this air fryer, Philips air fryer. And we are still in the majlis. I give him the money. The brother comes and says, how much you bought it for? I said, well, I paid for it 10 dinars. Well, I have the same model for 9 and 50, 500. So he has the right to cancel. And he cancels it and he buys it from him. What will happen to me? I will hate him. He cut in front of me and made me lose my deal because the deal is already done. This is different than bidding. Bidding, we will come to that. Bidding is an open bid. If everybody gives his price and whoever pays the highest gets the merchandise. This is like going to someone who's working in a company and you tell him, why? I'll give you more. Just resign. And also, a wife, you go to her and say, divorce him, ditch him, I will marry you. Or, why are you with him? Why don't you ask for new furniture, for new car? The Prophet says, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ خَبَّبَ امْرَأَةً عَلَى زَوْجِهَا. He's not from among us who turns a wife against her husband. All that fills your heart with hatred towards the Muslims, the Prophet ﷺ made this a major sin.
And one should not urge somebody to return the goods to the seller so as to sell him his own goods. Nor should one demand the hand of a girl who has already been engaged to somebody else.
Okay, so this is engagement, no marriage. The brother has proposed to this brother's daughter. They accepted, they engaged, alhamdulillah, not married yet. Now I know that he's already engaged and they're supposed to get married next month. So I come and go to the brother, Akhi, I would like to marry your daughter. He says, Wallahi, she's engaged. He said, Sheikh, I'm Sheikh Asim. And do I have to say more? La Wallah, Sheikh, you don't have to. Alas, I accept. What will happen to the brother? Hey, maybe kill. Seriously, this happened. In Arabia, it happens now and then. We hear a man killed a man. Why? Because he proposed to a woman he loves, or he had proposed. So Islam totally prohibits anything that would lead to such things.
And a woman should not try to cause some other woman to be divorced in order to take her place.
طيب, it's a metaphor. The Prophet said, a woman should not ask for her co-sister or co-wife to be divorced so that she would turn over the plate that she has food in it. So her sister, a man comes to me, or a man, not me. Why? He wants to marry my daughter. What do I like? You have dirty minds. Everybody's thinking, oh, wants to marry my daughter. Okay, a man comes to a woman. He says, I'd like to marry you. She said, yes, I would love to, but you're married. What are you insinuating? Divorce her and I'll marry you. This is haram. Because you're destroying, you're devastating the marriage of your sister. You want her plate to be emptied so that you would put your own food in it. No, this is a haram.
Chapter 32, Selling by Auction, Hadith 1021. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhuma.
Bin Abdillah.
Bin Abdillah.
Because al-mudaf ilayh, when it's maqsoor, lafz al-jalala, always yuraqqab.
The English is what you're meaning.
Okay.
A man decided that a slave of his would be manumitted after his death, and later on he was in need of money. So
Okay, this is a form of freeing a slave. I have a slave. If I want to free him a slave, you're free for the sake of Allah. Khalas. Or get me 1,000 Kuwaiti dinar, earn it, and you're free. This is called mukataba, as mentioned in Surah An-Nur. He buys himself off, like Barira. May Allah be pleased with Aisha. Some form of freeing is haram, especially when you're in need. How is that? I say to my slave, you are a good man. When I die, you're free. So this is conditional. So a man did this, you're free when I die. And then he got broke, doesn't have money. So the Prophet ﷺ turned it over. He cancelled his fee.
A man decided that a slave of his would be manumitted after his death, and later on he was in need of money. So the Prophet ﷺ took the slave and said, who will buy this slave for me? Nu'aym bin Abdullah bought him for such and such price, and the Prophet ﷺ gave him the slave.
So who will buy it from me with what? Now, this is related to why we're talking about this chapter. Auction. This is bidding. Because he did not say, I, a Prophet of Allah, khalas, take it. No. 6, 7 of them want to buy. So each one would raise the price. Raising the price would not make any hatred in my heart. No. You have the right. I have the right. Bismillah. And whenever there is a right, there shouldn't be any hatred. And if there is hatred, it's not your mistake. What do you mean? My father died with 5 siblings and a mother. And the mother says, the house is not going to be sold. The money will not be distributed. The business, I will run it. I will not give you profits. I will keep it with me. Is this her right? I demand my right. She says, no, I will not give you your right. What should I do? She's my mother. Go to court. File a case against her. And by force, she gives you your right because this was given to you by Allah Azza wa Jalla. Oh, Sheikh, but this is being undutiful to my mom. No, she's oppressing you. And they don't have the right to oppress you and prevent you from your God-given right. So whenever there's a right, nobody has the right to be resenting or having hatred. And if they do, it's not your fault, it's their fault. Yes, sir.
Chapter 33. Al-Gharab, the sale of what is not present, and Habalil Habala, that is the sale of what is in the womb of an animal. Hadith 1022, narrated by Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade the sale called Habalil Habala, which is a kind of sale practice in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance. One would pay the price of a she-camel which was not born yet and would be born by the immediate offspring of an extent she-camel.
Okay, the title is Bab Bay'ul Gharar. We spoke about this the first day when we spoke about the conditions, the 7 conditions of selling, and we said they all revolve around preventing 3 things: riba, transgression, and gharar, which is ambiguity, which is cheating you because you don't have certainty. And the form of transaction that the Prophet prohibited was common among the Arabs. I have a she-camel. So you come and say, I'd like to buy the offspring. I said, listen, I'll sell you the offspring of this she-camel when the offspring itself gets pregnant and delivers. So I'm selling you the grandchild of this she-camel who is still not pregnant. And you think, okay, that would be like in 5 years, and how much you'll sell it? I'll sell it for you for 10 KD. Oh, but that would be in 5 years' time, 150 KD. This is how businessmen think. So it will multiply so many times, I'll take this deal. So the Prophet ﷺ prohibited this. Why? Because this is something, sure, maybe the she-camel becomes barren. Maybe the she-camel dies after 2 years. And there's ambiguity. Maybe the she-camel gives birth to a male. I'm waiting for the female to get pregnant. And maybe, no, it becomes pregnant and gets a she-male, and the she-male becomes pregnant and gets twins of 3. I would feel the owner, oh, come on, I was hoping, and now I've sold this sheep for 3. So there is hatred all around any scenario. And this is preventing ambiguity. It's not related only to pregnant she-camel. Anything that has ambiguity in it, it falls under the same category.
Chapter 34. The seller is not allowed to keep camels, cows, sheep, or any other animal unmilked for a long time, so as to get more price by cheating.
How do you cheat by that? What is this? What is it contained in? It's not a belly.
Udder.
Yeah, it's UDER, I think. Yeah. So the milk, the breast of the animal. This is what the udder. When you don't milk it for 3 days, the Arabs, what did they used to do? A normal animal, they used to tie the udder for 3 days, so it becomes big. When you go and sell the animal, I look, oh, what do I want from the animal? To slaughter it? I need the wool and I need the milk, because with the milk I can survive for 2-3 months, and this is my food. So when I see it, I say, wow, this is jam'iyah. I can make a lot of food and money out of it. So I buy it. I milk it first day, second day, third day. That's a fashionista. I was cheated, man. What is this? So what to do? This is a form of cheating. So what did the Prophet say, alayhi salatu wasalam, in the hadith?
Hadith 1023, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever buys a sheep which has been kept unmilked for a long period and milks it can keep it if he is satisfied, and if he is not satisfied, he can return it. But he should pay 1 sa' of dates for the milk.
Well, okay, now this is to cut any dispute. I wanted to cheat you, I admit. You enjoyed this for 3 days, milking it. It can be a big camel, a big gallon. It can be a cow, it can be a sheep. Either way, when I return it back because I did not approve of the sale, I give you 1 sa' of dates, regardless of the amount. Why? Because if it was open, you said, no, it should be 2 sa'. And I may think, no, it should be 0.5 sa'. So the Prophet ﷺ cut the dispute by putting this as a general penalty, regardless of the amount of milk. All what you deserve is 1 sa' of dates in compensation for the milk that I have benefited from.
Chapter 35, the selling of an adulterer slave. Hadith 1024, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if a slave girl commits illegal sexual intercourse and it is proved beyond doubt, then her owner should lash her and should not blame her after the legal punishment.
And this is with every punishment. I don't have time to expand in explaining this hadith, but these are small hints. Your children make mistakes. Our spouses make mistakes. Your subordinates make mistakes. We inflict the punishment. Whether beating, whether reprimanding, whether taking something from their wages. Khalas, the punishment is done. What is the word used in the hadith? So he should flog her, he should lash her. فَلْيَجْلِدْهَا وَلَا يُثَرِّبْ. What is the meaning of يُثَرِّبْ? He should lash her and should not blame. And this is something we do. We combine punishment and blaming all the time. This is mental torture. You've already inflicted the punishment. Khalas. Zip it. It's gone. Don't, yeah, you did this, you did that, you remember when you did this and that? Keep reminding people of their shortcomings. This would make shaitan, make them fall in despair and make them think of, okay, if I'm going to be blamed for it, do it again. Khalas, why not? So the Prophet says, no, inflict the prescribed punishment. What is the prescribed punishment? Lashing. How many? 180. Who makes bidding? Bismillah. 80. Sheikh Fatih. Surah An-Nisa متحفظة؟ لا. I didn't know. And this is for slandering. 80. 80 is for slandering. Surah An-Nur 100 for a free person. فعليهن نصف ما على المحصنات من العذاب. A concubine, a slave woman, if they were to commit fornication, they have half the punishment of a free woman, which is 50. This is mentioned in Surah An-Nisa. This is why when you read, think, ponder, don't let me spit on my neighbors here. What are you doing? This is not what was revealed for. You have to understand it. You have to contemplate on it. Okay. So if she does it, we flog her and not blame. Then if she does it again,
and then if she repeats the illegal sexual intercourse, he should lash her again and should not blame her after the legal punishment. And if she commits it a third time, then he should sell her even for a hair rope.
Which means that she's bad news. Get rid of her as cheap as it's possible. Should I inform the buyer? Yes or no?
Yes.
Of course. You cannot cheat him and say, yeah, it's a good price. No. You have to say that she has a problem. And sometimes we have to do this in our own lives. When your car is not becoming maintainable, every other week it drains your money. What do? Khalas, sell it, get rid of it, because this is draining your money. Sometimes your wife, unfortunately, I get people coming to me in sessions, Sheikh, my wife, I love her so much. Okay, she cheated on me with another man. Allahu Akbar. Okay, but I forgive her because I love her. Okay, but Sheikh, she cheated again on me. Khas. Now I get my blood pressure hitting the ceiling. And seriously, sometimes counseling sessions make me so depressed that my wife comes and says, لا لا خلاص عندنا غير لا
he doesn't want you to say that.
ايش سوي استناك؟ And my wife says, stop it. This is affecting your health. So, if a man has this scenario, I would look into him and say, is he capable of forgiving and pardoning totally? But is she going to be fixed, or like she's the tail of a dog? You can never fix it. It's always tilted. And this is something we have to look into as the pros and cons. But subhanallah, sometimes you have to sell, you have to flee. You are in a partnership. Every year you pay 100,000 losses. Second year, inshallah, it will be fixed. 150,000. What to do? Run. Don't say, no, I'll wait 5-6 years. After 5-6 years, you say, I wish. You have to study, you have to do due diligence. If the ship is sinking, immediately go to rescue rafts. Yes.
Chapter 36. Is it permissible for a person from the town to sell goods of a desert dweller without taking commission? Should he help him or try to advise him? Hadith 1025. Narrated by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, do not go to meet the caravans on the way for buying their goods without letting them know the market price. A town dweller should not sell the goods of a desert dweller on behalf of the latter. Ibn Abbas was asked, what does he mean by not selling the goods of a desert dweller by a town dweller? He said, he should not become his broker.
Why?
He doesn't possess it.
No, broker. In brokerage, that's a good thing. The brother wants to buy a car, the brother wants to sell a car. I introduce them to one another, I take my commission. Haram? Totally halal. There's nothing wrong with it. But when a nomad or someone from outside comes to sell, I did not meet him at the city limit. He's coming to the market. He came to the market. I offered to be his broker. The Prophet says no. Why? Here, the nomad will benefit. And who will lose? The community. Now, I am a buyer, so I would like to get profit. So if the nomad comes and says, oh, this is that, I bargain with him, and I buy it from him. Then I sell it to the market with a margin of profit. This is benefiting the whole market, benefiting me. But when one of the locals says, no, the price the Sheikh is giving you is too low. Wait, I can get you more. And he goes and then raises the price, the community is at loss because the Prophet said, leave them. Allah grants provision from one another. Allah grants rizq for me because I'm opening my shop and waiting for such producers or nomads to sell me something where I make 5%, 10%. And he has other shops to go and show his merchandise. But because he most likely wants to secure a decent deal and go back home, he may sell it to me. If he has a broker, he will go to 5-6 other shops and he will deprive me from this good deal. So the Prophet said, leave them. Allah will grant, يَرْزُقُ اللَّهُ بَعْضُهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ. Allah will grant them provision from one another.
Chapter 37. It is forbidden to meet the caravans on the way to buy the goods away from the market. Hadith 1026. Narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, you should not try to cancel the purchases of one another.
We've gone through this, huh? Okay.
To get a benefit thereof. And do not go ahead to meet the caravan for buying the goods, but wait till it reaches the market.
And this is also clear. Do I have to repeat it? Any questions? Right, let's pause here. We have only 20 chapters to go, so alhamdulillah. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What if a person is exporting goods from one country and then he has an agreement with a certain importer to distribute those goods? Does that connect with the driving?
No, you are from that country.
What if he isn't from that country?
You have done your due diligence. You're not a nomad. You know how much it costs. You know the current. See, this is in an area where you don't know the prices, when there is bargaining. Like today, we went to Barkia, and the guy said, I was buying 2 dishdasha, I don't know what the farasha, I think, to my wife. So the guy said 18. I said, no, I can take 10. The guy's jaw went to the ground. What is it? I managed to take it for 14. Now he's making profit, definitely. And if I squeeze him, I would have. But I'm happy. So this kind of bargaining is when you go to the market. When he buys from Mumbai, forgot the area, near the Corniche. There is an area where I don't know. I was in the Taj Mahal hotel in you know better. So in that place, you get the oud, you get the things. He knows the price is there. He knows the price is here. So he's shipping it. Everything is secure. No, we're talking about someone like me. If I met someone and said, Sheikh, I will give you the best deals and let me go with you, just give me a commission. That might be part of this hadith. Yes. Yes, sir.
So just wanted to ask one question. So there are five shops, and there is the sixth shop. Everyone is selling dates for 1 kg, and the sixth shop is selling it for half kg. And the person comes from the first shop to the sixth shop, and the sixth shop is the person who's breaking the market. The income that the sixth shop has gained, is it halal or haram?
Why would it be haram? I don't understand.
Meaning because with the intention of breaking the market, is it not wrong?
If he's breaking the market, he's breaking his own back. Imagine this is costing 0.75 kd. Everybody is selling it 1 kd. I want to break the market, I sell it for half a kd. Am I breaking the market or breaking my own bank account? I'll be bankrupt. But this is selling and buying. Sometimes you have to lose in order to gain. Marketing is like this. So I have a startup business. I give the first week free. Am I making money? No, but this is a form of advertisement. Because after the first week, I know that people will come and like my product, and I may give free samples, I may give gifts, I may give all of this. This is marketing. But nobody would sell in loss to break the market unless he's Shia. You want to die as well. No, this is not logical at all.
What about, you mentioned if the transaction's already done, you cannot go and say buy it from me. But what about if you're in the market and the transaction is not done, can the seller, while he sees you trying to buy something, can the seller come and say, hey, buy it from me, I have a better price?
As long as they're negotiating, you don't break a deal like that. But you're buying in your shop and I'm selling in my shop, say, 1 kilo, half a dinar, half a dinar, half a dinar. You're listening to that. You may leave and come, but I'm advertising it. This is different than khalas, bismillah, bismillah. And you have the choice to cancel and you're still in the shop and I come to you and say, no, this is too expensive. I'll sell it for you cheaper. That would be, or negotiating the price, how much 1 kg, make it 0.75. I'll make it for you 0.75. The deal is not done, but I'm cutting in.
Yeah.
So ethically and Islamically, this is not permissible.
Yesterday you said that if we are at the same place, we can cancel the deal.
Correct.
But if I have a good deal and I know that I would like to have a tea, but I want to leave early before he changes his mind.
This is an issue of dispute. Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, used to do it. But there is a hadith that one should not do it deliberately to force a deal. So it seems that this is a recommendation. But Abdullah ibn Umar did it with Uthman. He bought something from him and immediately said, so that he would not go back on that good deal he had. So ethically, alhamdulillah, we have the approval of doing it. It's better not to, so that nothing remains in your brother's chest. By the way, nobody does this nowadays. Only you and I who know the ruling. Imagine if you do it in a supermarket and then you say, I don't want, bring me back my money. Call the police. This is what they'll do. They will not listen to you at all. Yes.
Chapter 38, the selling of dried grapes for dried grapes and meals for meals. Hadith 1027. Narrated by Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam forbade muzabana.
Al-muzabana.
Al-muzabana. And muzabana is the selling of fresh dates for dried old dates by measure. and the selling of dried grapes for fresh grapes by measure.
So what is it actually? Az-zabn is to push with force. And this means that each one of us, buying and selling, each one wants to take advantage of the deal. So what is al-muzabana? Al-muzabana is a form of transaction the Arabs used to do. So I have wheat, and you have a farm that grows grain. So I say to you, listen, why don't you give me the wheat which has already been taken out of sumbula? What's the sumbula?
Sunflower?
The one that it grows in. I don't know. In the Quran, you'll find it
For the corn.
for the corn and for the wheat. So before you take the wheat and take the grain out of it, maybe, I don't know. So you look it up. So I say, okay, estimate. How much is in this farm? How many tons? Take the wheat, which is ready. This is muzabana. This is haram. Also, I have raisins, and you have a tree of grapes. The grapes, when dried, they become raisins. So I say, I'll give you this much in exchange for whatever is on your tree, because I need it ripe. You say, yeah, it looks okay. Is there ambiguity? Yes. So this is totally prohibited. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited such gambling, with an exception. And we will come to the exception later on, inshallah.
Chapter 39, selling of barley for barley. Hadith 1028, narrated by Ibn Shihab, that Malik ibn Aus radiallahu anhu said, I was in need of change for 100 dinars. Talha ibn Ubaydillah called me and we discussed the matter, and he agreed to change my dinar. He took the gold pieces and turned and toppled them with his hands, and then said, wait till my storekeeper comes from the forest. Umar was listening to that and said, by Allah, you should not separate from Talha till you get the money from him.
Money exchange, gold to silver. So Talha, by the way, is one of the 10 bound. So is it okay? Khalas, I agree on the price. My bookkeeper would come after a while. When he comes, I'll give you the silver. Umar was there, said, no. Wallah, he will not take a penny from him. This is silver and gold. It has to be hand to hand. And this is not happening.
For Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, the selling of gold for gold is riba usury, except if the exchange is from hand to hand and equal in amount. The remaining hadith was narrated as in hadith number 1019.
So we're not going to repeat it because we've read it 5-6 times. The following and the following chapter is the same thing. So again, we're not going to repeat it, but for the sake of the barakah, we will get, inshallah, from studying Sahih al-Bukhari, we will read whatever the text is. Yes, sir.
Chapter 40, selling of gold for gold. Hadith 1029. Narrated by Abi Bakrata, radiallahu anhu.
Now you've noticed that the narrator, the companion, is different. One is Malik ibn Aus, one is Abu Bakr, one is Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. So this hadith is not ahad from one way. It came from many different ways.
Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, don't sell gold for gold unless equal in weight, nor silver for silver unless equal in weight, and from hand to hand. But you could sell gold for silver or silver for gold as you like.
As you like, providing what? It's hand to hand. It has to be hand to hand. And this was mentioned in other hadiths. Yes.
Chapter 41. Selling of silver for silver. Narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, radiallahu anhu. Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, do not sell gold for gold unless equivalent in weight and from hand to hand. And do not sell less amount for greater amount or vice versa. And do not sell silver for silver unless equivalent in weight and from hand to hand. And do not sell less amount for greater amount or vice versa. And do not sell gold or silver that is not present at the moment of exchange for gold or silver that is present.
It's clear. And you notice that the two descriptions in the beginning are the same. Gold with gold until they are equal, and then do not increase This is the same thing, but this is emphasis. It shows you how severe this is in Islam. It's not something easy. The Prophet repeated this so many times. The companions knew it by heart, because this is what the monetary system today is built on, riba. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ fought. Yes, sir.
Chapter 40.
Yes, sir.
Here, they didn't mention anything about in the same sitting. So, is that also applicable or?
In the same sitting, in the last phrase, what was meant in the last sentence? And do not sell?
Is not present at the moment of exchange.
Do not sell what is not present at the moment of exchange. This is what you're referring to. Of course, this is gold with silver.
Yes.
Because gold and gold, it has to be equal. And it has to be hand in hand. But if they differ, gold with silver, it cannot be the same weight, but it must have the condition of hand to hand.
Chapter 42, selling of dinars for dinars on credit. Hadith 1031. Narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, the selling of a dinar for a dinar and a dirham for a dirham is permissible. I said to him, Ibn Abbas does not say the same. Abu Sa'id replied,
I don't know where he got is permissible from.
it says it in brackets, and a dirham for dirham, and it says it's permissible.
Then you have to have it in brackets as well, providing the same weight and the same quality. We've been talking all these courses that the selling of gold to gold is not permissible unless it has to be same and simultaneous. So when he comes, the translator, and says the selling of dinar to dinar, which is gold to gold, is permissible, he's undermining the whole concept. It has to be, it's prohibited unless these conditions are fulfilled. And this is why we will understand it from the hadith, the remaining.
I said to him, Ibn Abbas does not say the same. Abu Sa'id replied, I asked Ibn Abbas whether he had heard it from the Prophet ﷺ or seen it in the Holy Book.
Now, what is meant by this? Ibn Abbas was the only companion who went against all the companions in saying that there is no riba of fadl. So to him, dinar versus dinar is okay, as long as it's simultaneous. Even though there is difference of quality or weight. Abu Sa'id, when he was objected to, because he was narrating the hadith, dinar by dinar is prohibited, one of the tabi'in said, Ibn Abbas says, it's okay. What did Abu Sa'id do?
Ibn Abbas
Immediately went to Ibn Abbas and said, come, now you've heard this from the Prophet ﷺ, or you found it in the Book of Allah? He did not jump the gun, which we usually do. When da'i or a scholar says something, oh, this is wrong, you're a hypocrite, you're this, you're that. If it's something crystal clear, a da'i says that drinking wine after Isha is permissible. Do you ask him for justification? No, you immediately jump. Someone in the caliber of Ibn Abbas, we have to give him credit. So he says, excuse me, I am a companion. I'm as old as you. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri is young, one of the youngest. You remember the hadith yesterday. But do you have evidence from Quran or Sunnah to back what you've said? What did Ibn Abbas say? Oh, I'm the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ. I have wasta. I have knowledge. The Prophet made dua that I understand the deen. No. What did he say?
Ibn Abbas replied, I do not claim that, and you know Allah's Messenger ﷺ better than I.
Shuf, subhanallah, humbleness. This is humbleness that all scholars, da'is, all preachers of Allah must have. Never speak about yourself. I did this, I did that, I did this. Don't speak about yourself ever, unless needed. And this is why Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, for example, when they once accused him, a tribe accused him of not being able to pray properly. Umar brought him all the way from Kufa and said, oh, they say that you don't pray properly. What did he say? He had to defend himself. So he said, by Allah, I have lost if I don't pray properly. And you should have seen me one of 3 in Islam, and among the first to embrace Islam. Of course, he's not one of 3, but this is what he thought, because it was kept hidden. So they didn't know about Abu Bakr, about Khadija, about Ali. So everyone thought that he was one of 3 with Bilal, for example, and the Prophet. And I am the first one to throw an arrow with the Prophet in the cause of Allah. He started saying as a defense. But if it's not to defend yourself, keep it between you and Allah. Don't go around and say, oh, yeah, today's Monday, you know, I was fasting. Who asked you? No, I just thought, people come to you in the office in the morning. Oh, I'm tired. Wallahi. And you don't ask them. So, Wallahi, I didn't have a good sleep yesterday. And you don't ask them. And then they say, you know, I didn't sleep because I was praying night prayer. You're exposing your good deeds. No, one should not do this. Abu Sa'id ibn Abbas confessed of humbleness, though he is among the most knowledgeable. He said, no, I did not hear it from the Prophet. I did not find it in the Quran. And you are more knowledgeable than me. So look at the humbleness. But,
So I do not claim that, and you know Allah's Messenger better than I. But Usama informed me that the Prophet
Usama ibn Zayd ibn Haritha or Thabit ibn Haritha حب رسول الله عليه الصلاة والسلام. So he is now relating. Okay, you guys know more than me, but I heard this hadith from Usama. What is the hadith?
Usama informed me that the Prophet ﷺ had said, there is no riba in money exchange except when it is not done from hand to hand. That is, when there is delay in payment.
Okay, this is why he used to say, and this was wrong, because he went against all the companions. So what do we understand? There is no riba. When the Prophet ﷺ makes such a statement, to understand it, you have to go, number 1, to the Arabic language, number 2, to the other hadiths. The Arabic language states that this type of statement is to highlight, but not to negate, that there is no riba. No, there is riba, but this is the most prevalent and important type of riba. Like when the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-Hajju Arafah. What does that mean? That the most prevalent pillar of Hajj is Arafah. But if someone does not make Tawaf al-Ifadah and Sa'i al-Hajj, is his Hajj valid? No. It is not accepted. And so many other hadiths that are resembling this. So Ibn Abbas thought it was only isolated in Nasi'ah, which is the delay, not hand to hand. And later on, he came back to the opinion of the majority of the companions when he saw that everyone was not backing him up. He acknowledged his mistake.
Chapter 43, selling of silver for gold on delayed payment. Hadith 1032. Narrated Abu al-Minhad. I asked Al-Bara ibn Azib and Zayd bin Arqam radiallahu anhum about money exchanges. Each of them said, he is better than I. And both of them said, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
This is dodging the answer. When we are in a gathering, brothers, what's the ruling on so-and-so in Islam? How many people answered you? All of them. All of them become shuyukh. Oh, no, this is haram. No, I heard the brother so-and-so says halal. No, MashaAllah. These are 2 companions of the Prophet. He's asking them about money exchange, gold to silver. Exchange. Each one says, ask him, he's more knowledgeable. The other one says, no, ask him, he's more knowledgeable. Which shows you what knowledge is. Don't jump the gun. Don't try to speak just in order to be known and famous. All the companions, all the Salaf used to have a very low profile. Al-Imam al-Shafi'i, the great Imam, he says, Wallahi, I would have wished that people benefited from my books and none of them were attributed to me. Why? I don't want to be famous. I don't want people to say, oh, your book is great. I've benefited. No. I don't want to be known at all. Compare this with people carrying selfies. I'm in the haram in the fifth tawaf, and sa'i, alhamdulillah, and this is the Prophet's masjid. Allah bless us for the Jannah. What are you doing? Don't expose yourself. Don't show yourself and sell yourself this way. Keep a low profile. We have to make a video. We have to teach people. We teach it, but we don't make an issue out of it. We don't want to become famous out of it. And this is the companion's way. This is the Salaf way. You come and ask me a question, I know the answer. I try my level best. Why would I harm myself? Sheikh Ahmed is here. Let him go. Let him answer it. Why would I trouble myself? And so many people are anxious to answer first. And this is very, very dangerous. And sometimes you answer to be kind. Wallahi, this brother worked with me and he asked me a question. And he came to me, and this happens to me. A man comes, Ya Sheikh, I've been married 25 years to my wife and we have 8 children. The youngest is 6 months old and I divorced her 3 times. I was out of anger. Over the duration of 25 years, I divorced her 3 times, but I didn't mean it. And you feel so heartbroken. He brings the 8 children with him, and the infant is crying, wanting milk. And he's at your doorsteps, and it's 9 o'clock in the evening. Either you invite him to dinner or give him fatwas. Khalas, no divorce. And you walk and say, okay, if you, yeah, inshallah, divorce, you can get back to your wife. You are putting yourself as a bridge on top of hellfire for people to walk to safety. Why? The least I could say is, ask someone else. Ask the Mufti. Why do I feel compelled to answer you? I don't know. Ya Sheikh, I came to you, you don't know? Yeah, I don't know. Sue me. If you want, unfollow me. Don't follow me on social media. I'm going to lose 1 follower. So, but don't throw yourself in hell. This is the Salaf. Each one refraining, as long as there is a possibility of dodging it and giving it to someone. But don't dodge it and give it to someone who doesn't know. This is unnatural. You are in a conference and they ask you a question and you go to one of the da'is who are, I don't know, so, give examples, but the guy doesn't know. He said, no, Sheikh Fulani, he'll answer. No, this is haram. You give it to someone who's qualified, and you know. And if he makes a wrong answer, and the wrong answer is not possible, no, crystal clear, wrong, you have to intervene and say, well, with all due respect, I think, maybe this and this and this, and explain it. So this is something, inshallah, you won't be in that position. Fadl.
Chapter 44. The sale called al-muzabana is the sale of dried dates or fresh ones that are still on the trees, and dried grapes or fresh grapes, and the sale called al-ariyya. That is the selling of ripe, fresh dates still over the palms by means of estimation for dry dates. Anas said that the Prophet ﷺ forbade the sales called muzabana and muhaqala. That is to sell wheat in ears for pure wheat. Hadith number 1033. Narrated by Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma, Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, do not sell fruits of dates until they become free from all the dangers of being spoiled or blighted.
This is number 1. It is prohibited to sell the fruits before it blossoms, so that we ensure that there are no diseases in it. So when it's green, you cannot sell it as a fruit. You can sell it as feed for the cattle. So I don't want to wait another 5-6 months. No, chop it off and sell it for cattle. There's no problem with that. But to sell it on the tree, and that it will become, inshallah, after 5-6 months, ripe, and I charge for you, and maybe after 2-3 months it will become infected or defected, and I said, khalas, I sold it to you. You should take the risk. No, this is not permissible. Huh?
And do not sell fresh dates for dry dates.
Fresh dates in exchange of dry dates, this is dates to dates. But there is another problem is that there is even no same in weight. Why? Because in the old times, they used to just look and estimate the ripe dates and give you dry dates in exchange for it. There is ambiguity in that, and this is haram, except in what is known as al-araya or al-aliyah. And this is what we will come to explain later on.
Salim and Abdullah added that Zayd ibn Thabit said, later on, Allah's Messenger ﷺ permitted the selling of ripe fruits on trees for fresh dates or dried dates in Bay' al-Ariyah and did not allow it for any kind of sale.
Okay. Jabir?
Hadith 1034, narrated Jabir radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ forbade the selling of fruits unless they got ripe, and none of them should be sold except for dinar or dirham, that is money, except al-ariyah trees.
Okay. Now, what is al-ariyah, al-araya? This is a form of exchange that the Prophet ﷺ allowed for the sake of the poor. I am poor in Medina. And when we talk about poor, yani not by today's standards, poor, yani barely finding anything to eat except dates. So all what I have stored in my home is dates. No cheeseburgers, no meat, not dates only. And me and my children would like to take some rutab, ripe dates when they are on the tree. The dates we have are black, they're dry, they're not as ripe as the yellow or as the red ripe dates on the trees. So I wish I can buy some of this, but I don't have dinar, I don't have cash. So the Prophet ﷺ, in the beginning it was prohibited, then the Prophet ﷺ permitted it with conditions. Condition number one, that it should be less than a specific weight. And what is the weight? 5 awsaq. Al-wasq is equivalent to 60 sa'. So 5 by 60 is 300 sa'. This is the max. What's less? How much is 300 sa'? It's approximately maybe 800 or 700 kgs. So if I have dates in my home and I'm poor and I would like to exchange this, it has to be the maximum of 600 to 800 kg of ripe that I would feed from it, that I would eat from it, and I can sell it. And I would make money, but it's a negligible amount compared to the farms that we're talking about. So it's not to trade. So the ambiguity is negligible in return to the advantage that me and my children and I may benefit a little bit from it. And among the conditions is that when I come and buy from an araya, I am poor. So a businessman cannot come and say, oh yeah, I have dates, I'll exchange it. No, I must be poor, I don't have cash. The third condition, that it has to be simultaneous. So this is the dates, I'm going to take my ripe dates from the tree, not I'll come after this or that. It has to be given to me. How is that? By I'm giving you the dates and you letting me take the palm tree. The palm tree is yours. And this is done by khars. Al-khars is estimation. I think, and these are experts who come and say, yeah, this palm tree has 300 kilograms of ripe dates. Meaning that when it's ripe and dry, it's going to be this much. This is their job and this is their occupation. Okay?
Chapter 45, the selling of dates still on trees for gold or silver. Hadith 1035, narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ allowed the sale of dates of al-ariyah provided they were about 5 awsaq. that is approximately 675 kilos. Singular wasq, which means 60 saw or less in amount.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Chapter 46. The sale of fruits before their benefit is evident, that is free from all the dangers of being spoiled or blighted. Hadith 1036, narrated by Zayd ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu. In the lifetime of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the people used to trade with fruits. When they cut their date fruits and the purchasers came to receive their rights, the sellers would say, my dates have got rotten. They are blighted with disease. They are afflicted with husham, a disease which causes the fruit to fall before ripening. They would go on complaining of defects in their purchases. Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, do not sell the fruits before their benefit is evident, that is free from all the dangers of being spoiled or blighted. By way of advice, for they quarrel too much.
So this is why the Prophet ﷺ ordered them not to do this, because it caused dispute, quarrels. I paid for it. It's green. And I know your products are good of this farm. So here is the money. And I'll come and collect it in 2 months' time. In 2 months' time, it's defective. It has worms, it has illnesses, it fell by itself. The seller says, I got my money, alas. And the buyer says, no, I paid you in exchange for goods. You're not able to deliver. So it's not my business, it's Allah's work. So the Prophet said, no, this is not permissible. Don't sell until you see that it has ripened and it's now disease-free. Now, do I have to wait for the whole farm? No. If one tree is fine and ripe and disease-free, this is an indication that the whole farm is free, and then the selling can be resumed.
Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, do not sell the fruits before their benefit is evident, that is free from all dangers of being spoiled or blighted. By way of advice, for they quarrel too much, Kharija bin Zayd bin Thabit said that Zayd bin Thabit used to not sell the fruits of his land till Pleiades appeared and one could distinguish the yellow fruits from the red ripe ones.
Okay, Jabir bin Abdullah.
Hadith 1037, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhuma, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade the selling of date fruits till they were red or yellow and fit for eating.
Okay, so until they're red or yellow. What if there are other colors? Yeah, sometimes there are other fruits, like, for example, grapes. They're neither red nor yellow, they're green. So the scholar said it depends on the color of the fruit. You know that the color of the fruit when ripe is so and so, so this is what is meant, not necessarily what literally the Prophet said, alayhi salam. This is fiqh. Where is the qibla for the people of Medina? Direction. South. So the people of Medina said, O Prophet of Allah, the qibla is not well defined. So how should we pray? What did the Prophet say, Asim? Between the east and the west is qibla. All of this is qibla. So now someone who is in Jeddah, where is the qibla? East. So I come to the hadith between the east and the west. So the qibla is east, and east and west is here. Between east and west is qibla. So I can, hey, what are you doing? For you, it's between south and north is qibla. So what the Prophet said, he said it to whom? People of Medina. So this is why you understand the hadith, yellow and red, according to dates. But when you come to other fruits that have different color for ripening, then you should use that.
Chapter 47. If somebody sells fruits before their benefit is evident and free from blights, then they get afflicted with some defects. They will be given back to the seller. Hadith 1038. Narrated Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade the sale of fruits till they are almost ripe. He was asked what is meant by are almost ripe. He replied, till they become red. Allah's Messenger ﷺ further said, if Allah spoiled the fruits, what right would one have to take the money of one's brother? That is other people.
This is exactly what we have explained. So I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel and repeat it again. Understood, inshallah? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Sheikh, if the produce is weekly, okay, and if I, so the same thing would apply. So if the first week's harvest is ready, and it's almost ripe, I can sell that, but I can't sell the other one. But can
No, you can.
I can?
Yes, because we said that the appearance of the ripeness in one tree is indicative that the whole farm is disease-free. So it will come next week, then a week after, it's going on according to plan. Because a defect would have been in one tree earlier, that would mean that the whole thing is defective.
Different kinds of planting, no problem.
No, we're talking about the same season, because it's a season usually. It's not that you plant it and 1 week later another section. No, usually it's a season that it all ripes in.
Chapter 48. If one wishes to buy a better quality of dates for a low quality of dates, that is a kind of riba usury, and it is called riba al-fadl. Hadith 1039. Narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhuma, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam appointed somebody as a governor of Khaybar. That governor brought to him an excellent kind of dates from Khaybar. The Prophet ﷺ asked, are all the dates of Khaybar like this? He replied, by Allah, no. O Allah's Messenger. But we barter 1 sa' of this type of dates for 2 sa' of dates of ours, and 2 sa' of it for 3 of ours. Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, do not do so, as that is a kind of riba usury. But sell the mixed dates of inferior quality for money, and then buy good dates with money.
Understood. We've talked about this. Okay.
Chapter 49. Bay' al-Mukhadara. The sale of grains or vegetables before their benefit is evident. Hadith 1040. Narrated Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade muhaqala, mukhadara, al-mulamasa, al-munabada, and al-muzabana.
Okay, so what is al-muhaqala? Al-muhaqala is to sell the wheat for grain. سنبلة شو سنبلة؟ أيوة عرفت مسنة؟
Yes.
ها؟
Yes.
Ears?
Ears.
In which the grains are there, right?
Yeah.
Years of grain.
Okay, so the Prophet prohibited this. Why? Because there is ambiguity. How much is this compared to that? So this is wheat. It's already selected, corrected, cleared, and the one in the ears is different. So this is prohibited. Mukhaba is to sell the the fruits when they're green from akhdar. Before you can see that's right, and we just spoke about this. Mulamasa, we spoke also about this in the very beginning, is to buy when touching. So in a dark room or whatever you touch, put your hand in the sack. Okay, this is 10 dinar. You take it, maybe it's 100 dinar worth, maybe it's 1/5 worth. You don't know. This haram, ambiguity. Munabada is the same. Whatever I throw to you is for 1 dinar. Or whatever your stone falls upon is 1 dinar. Sometimes it can be in property. All of this land is mine. Here's a stone. Throw it. And as far as it goes, I'll sell it for you for 100,000. Maybe your hand is weak. Get it good in front of you. Khalas, the sale is done. Maybe you are, mashallah, Arla Schwarzenegger. It will go like 2-3 kilos. I would be at loss. No, this is ambiguity. Islam prohibits this. Muzabara, we have done this earlier. Okay.
Chapter 50. In cases where there are no fixed judgment, the traditions and conventions of each community are to be referred to deduce a judgment in such matters as sales, renting, measuring, and weighing.
What does this title mean? Sometimes there isn't any standard. There isn't anything that we can refer to. How do we solve conflicts? We go to the norm of the people. So for example, I bring a carpenter and he builds something for me, a cupboard. How much? He says 200 dinar. Oof, it's a lot of money. Who judges whether this is exaggerated or regular? The norm of the community. So when I go to the fish market, I would go to the carpenter's area, and they will judge according to what is norm about them. This is called ما تعارف عليه الناس. One of the rules of fiqh is al-urf. I got married to this brother's daughter. We did not name a mahar. After 5 months, 6 months of marriage, she says, I want my mahar. I said, okay, how much? She said, 10,000. That's a lot. I'll give you 1,000. This is too little. What is the norm? The norm is that we see what the people acknowledge to be the normal fee for such a woman of such a status. This is al-urf. And I give it to her. The hadith.
Hadith 1041, narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, Hind, the mother of Muawiyah radiallahu anha, said to Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Abu Sufyan, her husband, is a miser. Am I allowed to take from his money secretly? The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to her, you and your sons may take what is sufficient, just, and reasonable.
So this is bil ma'ruf. What is acknowledged among the community that it is permissible. So if a woman comes and says, this hadith means that I can take from my husband's bank account to buy a new sports car, would that be ma'ruf? No. She says, I'd like to go to Switzerland for a couple of months vacation with my kids. This is not ma'ruf. And ma'ruf is to put food on the table. Everybody says to pay rent, to buy clothes because they're almost not having proper clothes. This is ma'ruf. So whatever is reasonable. And likewise, a woman obeying her husband. She must obey her husband in everything? No. If he tells her, stand on one foot for half an hour, Simon says, the Prophet ordered you to obey me. Would that be logical? No. If the father says to his son, I don't want you to drink water from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Is he obliged to obey? If the mother orders him, you have to eat this type of food, and he doesn't want to. This is not ma'ruf. So we have to segregate and know what is ma'ruf from what is not ma'ruf. What is beneficial for the children, for the parents, so that they're obliged to obey, or they're not obliged to obey, and Allah knows best. Some. ما نختم معك باقي 51. لا احنا 51 باقي 6. خفيف خفيف. يلا بسم الله.
How many are left?
6.
Okay. Chapter 51, selling of a joint.
This is 3, 2, X2.
Chapter 51, selling of a joint property by one partner to the other. Hadith 1042. Narrated by Jabir radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave preemption to the partner in every joint property. But if the boundaries of the property were demarcated, meaning set the boundaries or limits up, or the ways and the streets were fixed, then there was no preemption.
Shuf'a is the right to possess by force against the will of the partner. Sheikh and I joint venture in this item. Can I say that this half is mine, the upper half is yours? No, because there is no distinction. Here, he cannot sell it to anyone. I have the right to buy it. So this is called shuf'a. But if it is well defined, he has a duplex with his own entrance, and I have my own entrance. He has his own water tank and sewer system, totally separate with a different deed. Then he's not obliged. But when there is harm on me because we own this building. But we can't say that the flat on the ground floor is yours and the one in the upper ground is mine, because we're interlinked with this. He has the right to say no. If you're gonna sell it, I'll buy it, providing that he does it immediately. So he knows that I'm gonna sell it, and he comes after 2 months after selling it, says, okay, I want my right. No, it should have been done immediately. And there are so many fiqh related things in that.
Chapter 52. The purchase of a slave from the enemy at war and giving him to somebody as a gift and manumitting him, releasing or freeing the slave. Hadith 1043. Narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ says, the Prophet Abraham alayhi salam, immigrated to Sarah and entered a village where there was a king from amongst the kings, or a tyrant from amongst the tyrants. The king was told that Abraham had entered the village accompanied by a woman who was one of the most charming women. So the king sent for Abraham, and asked, "O Abraham, who is this lady accompanying you?" Abraham replied, "She is my sister," that is in religion. Then Abraham returned to her and said, "Do not contradict my statement, for I have informed them that you are my sister. By Allah, there are no true believers on the earth except you and I." Then Abraham sent her to the king. When the king got to her, she got up and performed ablution, offered salah, and said, "O Allah, if I have believed in you and your messenger, and have saved my private parts from everybody except my husband, then please do not let this disbeliever overpower me." On that, the king fell in a state of unconsciousness, or had an epileptic fit, and started moving his legs. Seeing the condition of the king, Sarah said, "O Allah, if he should die, the people will say that I have killed him." The king regained his power and proceeded towards her, but she got up again and
He did not give up. After all what happened, he said, "Khalas," and he's still continuing.
and said, "O Allah, if I have believed in you and your messenger and have kept my private parts safe from all except my husband, then please do not let this disbeliever overpower me." The king again fell in a state of unconsciousness and started moving his legs. On seeing the state of the king, Sarah said, "O Allah, if he should die, then the people will say that I have killed him." The king got either 2 or 3 attacks, and after recovering from the last attack, he said, "By Allah, you have sent a shaitan to me. Take her to Ibrahim alayhi salam and give her Hajar." So she came back to Ibrahim and said, "Allah humiliated the disbeliever and gave us a slave girl from service."
Why did Bukhari bring this? To show that what happened in the pre-Islamic era, or something that was pre-Islamic, can be halal. Hajar was captivated, was enslaved, and given to Ibrahim. Ibrahim did not say, "Oh, she was taken unlawfully, she's free." He continued and accepted this gift. Now, Salman al-Farisi, may Allah be pleased with him, when he migrated from Iran, from Persia, and went to Iraq and Syria, he was sold as a slave. And when he was brought to Medina, and the Prophet could have said easily, "My son, you're not a slave anymore," and ordered the Jew to free him, because he was enslaved unrightly, yet it was kept as it was. So was Khabbab, Suhaib, Bilal, who were taken unlawfully, because this is what the Prophet came and found the people, and he ﷺ dealt with it as it was. But nowadays, no one can go to Cambodia and say that they're selling children for $100. So I'll buy 6, get 1 free. This is halal. They will become my slaves. No, this is not right. But what was found in such nations and before Islam came and found it as it is to be dealt with as it is.
Chapter 53, the killing of pigs. Hadith 1044, narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "By him in whose hands my soul is, surely the son of Maryam, Isa, will shortly descend amongst you people, Muslims, and will judge mankind justly by the law of the Quran as a just ruler, and will break the cross and kill the pigs and abolish jizya, a tax taken from the non-Muslims for the protection of the Muslim government. Then there will be abundance of money and nobody will accept charitable gifts."
What is this related to the chapter of transactions and sales? You don't have time because we have to leave. What is prohibited, what we're ordered to kill is prohibited to sell. So the pigs, if we're ordered to kill them, this means that the prices of it is haram. We can't buy it and we cannot sell it. This is why Al-Bukhari brought this hadith in this chapter.
Chapter 54, the selling of the pictures of unanimated objects having no souls and what is hated from them. Hadith 1045. Narrated by Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhuma, a man came and said, "O Ibn Abbas, I am a human being. My sustenance is from my manual profession and I make these pictures." Ibn Abbas said, "I will tell you only what I heard from Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I heard him saying, whoever makes a picture will be punished by Allah till he puts a soul or life in it, and he will never be able to put a soul or life in it." Hearing this, that man heaved a sigh and his face turned pale. Ibn Abbas said to him, "What a pity. If you insist on making pictures, I advise you to make pictures of trees and any other unanimated objects having no souls."
We have gone through this yesterday, so I don't think we need to reiterate.
Just a quick question on this.
Yes, sir.
So like animation cartoons or like drawings and stuff, are you allowed to watch them? Is that sinful?
Watching them is not sinful.
Okay.
What's sinful is to watch Tom and Jerry, for example, without music, without haram things in it. It's haram.
Chapter 55.
I'm talking about Tom and Jerry, not anime. Anime is Japanese cartoons where there is nudity, there is excessive killing and things, totally haram against our religion. And our children, unfortunately, they're hooked. And sometimes if you watch it, you'll be hooked. Naruto, and the likes, and it's so connected. So no, this is different.
Chapter 55. The sin of a person who sells a free man knowingly and intentionally. Hadith 1046. Narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah says, "I will be against three persons on the day of resurrection."
I'll be against and I'll be their opponent. If Allah is your opponent, standing against you, will you win? Definitely not. No.
Number one who makes a covenant in my name, but he proves treacherous. Number two, one who sells a free person as a slave and eats the price.
This is what is meant by this hadith. That selling someone who's free and you consume what you've sold him with, this is something of a major sin that Allah Azza wa Jalla will hold you accountable for.
Number three, and the one who employs a laborer and gets the full work done by him but does not pay him his wages. Chapter 56, the sale of dead animals and idols. Hadith 1047, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhuma. In the year of the conquest of Mecca, I heard Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, Allah and His Messenger made haram the trade of alcoholic liquors, dead animals, pigs, and idols. The people asked, "O Allah's Messenger, what about fat of dead animals? For it was used for greasing the boats and the hides, and the people use it for lights." He said, "No, it is haram." Allah's Messenger ﷺ further said, "May Allah curse the Jews, for Allah made the fat of animals haram for them, yet they melted the fat and sold it and ate its price."
The long discussion of this hadith, these things are haram, but they're haram to sell. Using it is halal. So if you have lard of pigs and you can use it on boats externally, or you use it for lighting lamps, this is halal according to the most authentic opinion. The Prophet says, no, it's haram is selling it. This is what the Jews used to say, to do. They know that using it, consuming it is haram, so they used to make it as in a form of ghee or something, sell it and consume the price. So the Prophet prohibited selling it, but using it is halal.
Chapter 57, the price of a dog. Hadith 1048. Narrated by Abu Mas'ud al-Ansari radiallahu anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade taking the price of a dog, money earned by prostitution, and the earnings of a soothsayer.
Okay, the hadith is crystal clear. We don't want to go into it, but I pray to Allah Azza wa Jal that we did not misjudge the material we had, and I pray to Allah that we've managed to at least explain most of it, if not all of it. We didn't do it justice, but this is the time we have. You guys work and 3 hours of your daily routine devoted for this, inshallah, yani, will be beneficial. And I pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla that He accepts our deeds and that He increases us in knowledge and makes us among those who act with what they know and manage to transmit this to others and be effective and beneficial elements of this community. هذا والله أعلم بالنسبة للعلم اللي أسلم. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد. Questions? Yes, sir.
Relative to trading in shares, they say you can trade in a company if it's non-haram, its haram income is less than 5%, its haram loans are less than 30% total assets. So they have to be three categories.
This is all bogus. There is nothing in Islam, to my knowledge, that states if the income of the company is less than 30%, 1/3, is haram.
5%, no, haram income less than 5%.
Who gave this? Who gave this? Who gave this percentage? Where did you get it from? They say that if they deposit their money, they finance, sorry.
So suppose their total income is 180, 95 is from halal source, 5 is interest income. So they say as long as it's less than 5 dinar, you can buy and sell in those shares in the bourse.
This is baseless, Akhi. Now, when you buy a share of a company, how do we describe you?
Like Aramco. Aramco is such an oil company.
How do I describe you when you buy a share in a company? You are a shareholder, one of the owners.
Yeah.
So if the company is dealing in 5% liquor or prostitution or something that's haram, are you involved or not? In front of Allah. Don't ask me about selling and buying or, okay, Sheikh, I'll take 5% of my profit and give it sadaqah.
They do cleaning.
It's cleaning, you use Clorox. With this, you cannot clean it. You are a partner. And anything of it, or one dust particle of it, you will be punished on the day.
Aramco, now they list as, they have billions of deposits, and all the deposits they don't put in Islamic banks, they put in convention. So 1%, 0.5% of the income is from interest income.
Okay.
So can't you buy and sell Aramco?
You can, but what will your answer be on the day of judgment when you stand in front of Allah, asking you to justify buying 0.1% haram?
So, no, I'm with you, to be honest. I'm at your side.
Halas. Why do you want to put me in jail?
No. I want to argue with them with your source. So, because this is widely these days, Islamic in Kuwait, all Arab countries.
We mentioned this in the first day. There will come a time where a man does not care whether his income is from halal or haram. And we asked you, is this existing today? And you all said, definitely. This is one example. Akhi, when it comes to profit, I'm willing to sell my land, my property, my family, just to make money. How many of you know people who have betrayed their own brothers, siblings, and consumed their rights and their inheritance, and they denied them? How many? Half of you, unfortunately. And I get questions like this every single day. How is this possible? So when it comes to income, people are willing to do whatever it takes.
Some second other question, sorry. In Islamic banking, now all there's in Kuwait, there's in Saudi, we have Islamic banking. Are there certain things which they do, which are perhaps not very right? Have you studied Islamic banks? Because they have sukuk deals, they have murabba loans.
All of this.
Our community takes Islamic loan, and my boss doesn't care it's Islamic, non-Islamic. But if we done Islamic with murabba, but we every 3 months one of our assistant calls, we bought this much of oil or whatever from Malaysia. We sell, deal done, and the structure is
All on paper.
All of this depends.
Actually, they do. The documentation does that.
All of this depends on a number of factors. Number one, are you a student of knowledge or a layman? Number two, does your bank or your financial institution have a Sharia board that is trustworthy, that is having hands-on, or they're just a consultant that comes and says, yeah, go. Who's implementing it? You. Who's supervising you? Nobody. No, this doesn't work.
No, Islamic banks, all they have Sharia rules.
They have Sharia boards that do not govern the work. They give fatwa. Who's implementing the fatwa? You. And the likes of you.
Each transaction, to be honest, each transaction, what about bank goes, because when we do a deal,
This is why I'm telling you the conditions. There are Islamic banks that have a Sharia board that just give the fatwa. How you interpret the fatwa is none of my business. I get the bonus at the end of the year. And there are Sharia board that have authority or a business unit in the same bank that overlooks and audits. So they go to each branch, show me your transactions of this week. They say, this is not accordance to Islam. They cancel it, they have power. And this is found in Al-Rajhi in Saudi, I don't know here. We have it in Rajhi, we have it in Bilad, we have it in Inma. They have these departments. The other Islamic banks, fatwas.
so Raji is fine.
Inshallah, but nobody's fine and above the law. Everybody has a price. So we have to look into it as students of knowledge and judge every transaction for what it is worth, not just because it's a Rajhi, halas, it's exempted from haram. No, we have to even look
So
into
for
it.
Raji, if I put my deposit and I make
Inshallah, you're safe. Bismillah. Yes. Halas.
Exchanging of cars. You buy it. I don't want to pay money.
Okay.
I can sell my car and buy his car.
Without exchanging, yani.
We exchanging.
What do you think, guys? Exchanging car for two cars? No. I have a Mercedes and the brother has two Toyotas. So I said, take my Mercedes and get me two Toyotas. Halal or haram?
Halal.
But this is 2 for 1. How is it halal? It's not of the 6 categories. So exchanging a car with a car and paying extra, no problem. Because we have the 6 categories. 2, gold and silver and whatever falls underneath. 4, which is eatable, weight or measured by size and can be stored.
And what is the maximum commission we can have in a business?
The sky.
Sky is the limit.
Any product.
Any product. If I make commission, I'm not fooling you, I'm not lying. You don't want, don't buy. But no, Sheikh, you be modest, you have to take only 1%. Why? Who said? If I take 5%, 10%, if I'm selling oil and I can make millions out of that, he's happy, and I'm the broker. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sheikh, regarding leasing, if person needs loan and one person is ready to give the loan, but he has the property, he tells you stay in this property for 1 year or 2 years, and after 1 year, 2 years, you return the same amount.
I don't know the ghaib. I do not know the unseen. But I can say that you were not here the first day. Then you were asleep.
Only changement for the tea, have tea. You have to good
See, Sharia board always have excuses.
You have good intentions.
Investors always have. Did we mention this? I mentioned this in the beginning, that especially in the subcontinent, that a man comes to my property. This property of mine, the house, usually the rent is 12,000 a year. So he comes to me, he says, I want your property. I'll give you a deposit of $500,000. But I will rent it for 50 a month. So 600 a year instead of 12,000. Says, okay, this is totally rigged. Because the rent is not adequate and the deposit is not a deposit, it's a loan. A deposit is usually 5,000 riyals for the paint if scratched, if there is a leakage, something broken, I take it and compensate. But to take $500,000? this is definitely riba, clear riba.
By a couple of questions regarding hoarding. Hoarding is haram.
Hoarding is haram. What is the definition of hoarding? Because I can buy rice and put it in my stores for 3-4 months and then sell it for a higher price. Is this hoarding?
No.
When it is hoarding, when there is no one in the market having rice. So I collect all the rice. So now what happens to the prices? It goes up because of me blocking it. Now this is hoarding, which is haram. But when there is, but I'm banking on the prices going up later on, not because of supply and demand, rather for any other reason, like buying gold. I buy gold today, hoping that 2 years, and definitely after 2 years it will go up. And I sell it. This is not hoarding, this is okay.
Actually, the question was like.
I explained this because I did not speak about hoarding when the brother, we moved on, so I forgot to speak it. That's why I brought it up.
So once you purchase, after 3-4 months time, eventually the rice runs out of the market, for example. Then you're falling into the category that it's like hoarding.
It's like, but it's not. So as long as I'm not controlling the livelihood of people and exaggerating the prices. Yeah, okay, now after 4 months, there is no rice. I demand and supply, I put it with some profit, no problem. But usually hoarding means, no, you have to double the price, triple the price. This is harming the community. This is where the Muslim ruler interferes, says, no, I'll take it by force and give it to the market value a little bit more maybe, but not the prices you want. Yes, sir.
Now, I rented a farm where the fruits have not yet started to even blossom. And I took it for that season. Say the farm is for 100,000 riyal. And then I sell the dates. Is it okay?
This is renting.
Yeah,
So
renting.
I may rent a palm tree, I may rent a farm. The owner of the farm is none of my business what you do with it. If you leave it, if you put it as a storage house, or if you plant it and take care of the pears. When you get female plants with male plants, pollination. So it's not my business, I'm renting you my farm. If you take care of it and do it, maybe it blossoms, maybe it doesn't, this is up to you. This is none of my business. I'm talking about when selling you the fruit, not the palm, not renting it to you. I'm just selling you the fruit. When it's green, no, this is not permissible. I have to wait until it blossoms and shows that it has no defects in it.
Sheikh, related question.
Usually, in case of a banana,
Of?
usually they ship when they are green. So, because the time that it comes from wherever it's country of origin till it reaches here, we do find it sometimes it's green, and hopefully by the time when it comes here, it's ripe. So, what would be?
This depends on the people of experts. If they say 100% when taken from the tree green, it will ripe after 2 weeks, and never it is defected by disease or something. I've never seen a banana defected by. But in dates, you can't find that. So if the experts say that this doesn't happen, then this is permissible, inshallah.
Same like green mango.
I've got mangoes again. I don't know these things. You guys, the people of expert, we in fiqh, we don't go into details unless we have knowledge, but we give the guidelines. And you, once understanding the rules and the guidelines, you apply this to your own products.
Buying car on installments.
Okay.
Is it permissible?
How?
Like we pay down payment and every month we pay an amount.
In Saudi, they don't have.
With the condition of late payment and all this.
No. See, selling something in installments is halal. This is 1,000 riyals, cash. If you come and say, Wallah, Sheikh, I don't have cash. I'd like to pay it over a year. monthly installments. I said, okay, I'll sell it to you for 1,200 riyals. 200 riyals extra. Halal or haram?
Haram.
No, it's halal, 100%. 100% halal. Why? Because the price is defined. So if you come to me, how much ya Sheikh? I said 1,000 cash, 1,000 cash. He comes to me, how much Sheikh? I said 1,100 cash. Why do you sell it to him? 1,000 to me, 1,100. My product or not? I sell it to him, inshallah, for 500. For one, I give it to him a gift. It's none of your business. You want it? Take it. So it's the same concept, providing that the final price is fixed. So you said, okay, I'll buy it from you for 1,200, 100 a month. The transaction is done. You're late, you're dead, you're imprisoned. 1,200 exactly is what I can collect for it. I cannot collect one fils extra, regardless of what's happening. This is halal. Late payment fee, this is riba. Most companies in Saudi, all companies, they've stopped this about 15 years ago. Why? Because they want to milk people with haram money. All companies now. You go to buy, they say, we don't sell, we lease. What do you mean? You have to pay us an amount every year. This is leasing. And after 5 years, you have the choice of buying it for peanuts, or we give it to you as a gift. So, okay, it's the same concept. It's not the same concept. First, you have to pay the insurance, but I'm not owning it. Secondly, if you defaulted on the 4th year, 11th month, and 1 month left, you did not pay, you were imprisoned, you went to hospital, any reason, they come to your home, they take the car, and they sell it. Okay, guys, 100 KD was left. I'll give it to you. Sorry. Okay, give me what I paid all these 4 years and 11 months. You didn't buy, you're leasing. If the car was in front of my home and another car rampaged it, destroyed it, insurance company comes and brings a new car. Say, alhamdulillah, give me. So no. The car was totaled. Okay, and the new car is ours. But I paid for 4 years and 11 months. You paid lease. So they're cheating you and lying to you. And not only that, Islamic banks, what they do, they say, okay, the agreement, you pay 50 KD a month. That's good, I'm fine. You come to sign the contract, you find that the first year, you're supposed to pay 50 by 12 is 600. You find that you're supposed to pay 3,000. What is this? No, we're not going to charge you this. 50 is 50. So why do you write 3,000? Because 3rd month you say, I don't want the car. We say, okay, pay the balance, which is 7,000, which is much more than what the depreciation of the car is in 3 months. But they want to eat your money. All of this is haram.
So all financing and leasing is haram.
With this concept, yes.
If there's any late fees or...
Yes, definitely.
Because then people take advantage also, no? They don't pay.
This is selling and buying. This is al-kharaj bil-daman. You benefit when you guarantee. But if your guarantee is 100%, where is the risk? If I'm 100% guaranteeing that my 100 will become 120, there is no risk, there is no fear. This becomes like a riba-based loan. I give you 100, you give you 120. صلى الله عليه وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد جزاكم الله خير.
Please, brothers, send your number to Brother Hassan because we have the certificate signed by the Sheikh. Okay, Hassan, where are you? Are you here? Okay, this is the number. Please send your name to this number. Okay.
Email address.
Email.
Name and email address.
Okay, please.
هذه بضاعتكم.
إن شاء الله. مرة ثانية.